you think of that deal?
I mean, in a vacuum, I like the deal. I think Alvin's going to live up to that deal. I think we've seen Alvin living up to his deal this year. There's no question about how much he means to this team. What would this offense be without Alvin Kamara? There's so much he means to the franchise, the fan base, the everything, the heart of this team, as you wrote about. And if you're comparing it to other deals around the league, I don't mind paying him this price, especially when you're projecting into the future and the inflation that's going to come into salaries. All great. My only question is, should the Saints keep investing in core veterans on this roster in general right now when every sign points to this team needing to rebuild and reset the cap pretty soon? I guess no matter what direction the future holds for the Saints, having Alvin Kamara be a part of it isn't a bad thing. We're just talking about a total of $24 million over 2 years. It's not going to make or break them. So I'm a little conflicted, but I mean, having Alvin in the building, it would be so dispiriting to let him go next year. If you're not going all out, you keep Alvin.
Yeah, it's a big contract, though. I mean, it really is. It's just a notch below Saquon Barkley, fifth highest in the league. Saquon got $12.5 million. Alvin's coming in at rate at $12.25 million. It's definitely a good deal for him. I think it's a really good deal for him. I think he did a good job getting the money that he wanted to get. I think his agent did a great job negotiating this contract for him. They were talking in February at one set of numbers. The set of numbers that they got now is higher than the set of numbers they were talking about then. And that's kind of what happens. Christian McCaffrey signs an extension. Saquon signs that deal. Everything kind of goes up a little bit. Joe Mixon gets $9 million per year. Derrick Henry signs a contract. So a lot of stuff happened in that running back market. I think got inflated quite a bit. And even to an extent that you watch that Giant show, they weren't expecting him to be able to go out and get $12.5 million per year. So there was just kind of a boom there, which kind of makes sense when you look at where the league is now. The spread out, throw it on the field, it's dead. Like, it really is. Like, you watch games and they're completely different than they were 2 years ago. It's back to kind of more like running the ball, smash mouth football, good defense, hard to get yards. That kind of puts a value back on running backs a little bit. It's a good deal for him, though. It definitely is. He really did bet on himself here. And he brought it into the final year of it, walks out of minicamp, shows up for training camp, just kind of goes to work, plays through broken ribs, plays through a hip pointer, plays through a fractured hand, just keeps showing up, showing that he's going to do it, that he can do it, and he eventually gets paid. I think it's interesting, though, in the macro sense of things, that as we sit around outside and talk about, are they going to tear it down? Are they going to rebuild?
That's not how they talk.
Are they going to start over? Is it time to look at the draft stock? I mean, since then, all they've done is they signed a wide receiver that's going to help them possibly win more games, and then they signed Alvin to an extension. They aren't coming up to an end of the road at all. They don't see the end of the road. They're going to keep going with this. They're keeping their players together. They're going to try to add to it, and they're going to try to win again next year. They aren't starting over. They don't care about the $80 million over the cap graphic that's going around. This is the path they're on. And whether or not we agree with it or not, that's where they're existing and that's where they're going. Either way, I think it's good to keep him around. I think he deserves it. Kendrick Miller didn't take his spot. I mean, this is where it's at. And look, if you're bringing somebody in, a coach or whatever, at least he's somebody that, if you were starting over, and again, I don't think they are at all. Right. I think I wrote 2 weeks ago that it was more likely that AK signs an extension than the coach gets replaced. And they signed the extension. I don't, we'll see what happens with the season, but their actions are telling us that they believe it's an injury problem, not a coaching problem, not a talent problem. They believe in their building. Those are the issues. And this kind of emboldens that. Like, it just supports that thought. And that's kind of how we've thought they were thinking about it. And this to me says it. Mickey Loomis said a couple of weeks ago, they're looking beyond the results. This signing tells me that they aren't looking at it as the end of the road, that this hasn't worked, this has failed. I think they look at it as, we haven't been able to reach our potential because of the injuries. And we'll see how it goes. I mean, look, I still think they got to win games and everything down the stretch to kind of keep going that way. But as it sits now, the panic that exists outside of their building, the panic that we have talked with here, that fans talk with on social media, that is not existing in their building.
Yeah, look, Alvin Kamara definitely won this negotiation for a couple of different reasons. I mean, not only did he end up getting more money and get getting paid near the top of the running back market. He now gets some security. He is going out there breaking a new body part every week for this team. If the Saints were being cold and calculated and heartless, they should wait and see how Alvin Kamara makes it through this season before they pay him. That would be the mean way to do it, the unfair way to do it. But teams operate that way all the time. It's a little surprising. The Saints are invested and running him into the ground at the same time.
I think he
so.
called
I hope
their
they
bluff.
have a better plan. Yeah,
I think he called their bluff, though. I think they were trying to play it like that, and he said, "Okay, then we aren't talking anymore." And they did stop talking for a while.
Yeah.
And he said, "You know what? I'm just going to go out here and play every week, and then, I'll hit the market and leave." I think he called their bluff and kind of won.
Without question.
Yeah, and look, I'm not saying the team lost here or anything. I just think, as I looked when I seen that contract, I was like, "Oh, damn, he did it." And I don't know, he started down and did it. I was kind of, I was impressed by it. Not a lot of people kind of are willing to do that, especially at his position. And then you do start getting hurt, and a lot of people would probably panic. He didn't care. Like, I'm just going to keep playing. I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep showing people that I can run. When you open up a hole, I'm going to hit it.
Yeah.
I know there's some conversation about where he exists in his career. 3.9 yards per carry again. I think if you're doing more than box score scouting, you kind of see that doesn't seem. I don't know. I feel like that's a dishonest conversation to just kind of like, dude, there's no healthy offensive lineman. Like, what do you want him to do? So when those are open, like, you see the quickness and the burst. I was watching a video, the dude does the QB school, and all his videos are about the quarterbacks, and he's like stopping, like every time he does one, he zips through the runs.
Yeah.
Saints game, like he stops, he's like, "Oh my God, look at Alvin, look at how quick he is. He's moving like it's 2018. Like, this is incredible. How did he turn back the clock?" Like, so I mean, it's there, and people see it. I think if they block better, he'll have better numbers.
I agree with
like
that.
we
saw that.
already
We saw that in the first 2 weeks for sure.
Against bad teams, but yeah,
right. But
yeah, it's a huge problem. You have replacement offensive linemen out there. It's a huge problem.
He's better than He's better than 98% of all alternatives at that position still.
I respect the hell out of this. So like, they tried to replace him.
Yeah.
He beat out that guy.
Yeah.
He gets paid. He gets to finish his career here probably if he wants. We'll see where it goes beyond this. But, he might, who knows? There might still be mileage left at the end of it. But, I kind of thought when they drafted Kendra, I thought it was dumb for him. And that's kind of what it was. Like, I kind of figured, okay, young guy comes in, they're going to try to usher in the new era. It's going to be like Alvin taking over from Mark Ingram. And like, he won, man.
The other interesting element of this is Alvin's a truth teller. It often comes across as Alvin's like down on the team or the state of the team or the direction of the team. As he puts it, he goes, "I know I always come across as a negative Nancy." I mean, this speaks louder than words, though, about his buy-in. I mean, he was 3 months away from being free if he didn't want to be a part of this organization. He's committing to the organization as well. He's going to continue to be a leader for this organization. He's obviously showing buy-in by staying here. Can that help?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think even last year when he seemed the most bothered by everything that was going on, and he was given, the press conferences and all that. Like, you would go watch the games, and he was playing harder than everybody else.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that ever wavered.
I agree
at all. So, yeah, I mean, I think it can definitely help. Like, people see, good players get rewarded, and that always helps. Like, you don't want to see good people not get rewarded. But as far as the buy-in and everything, like team-wide, I think they just really have to win games.
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to. If you lose this week to the Chargers and you lose to the Panthers, like, the buy-in's probably not going to be there anymore. So even if this gets you like a little bit of goodwill or whatever in the locker room, hey, they took care of AK, and I think he's somebody that's incredibly influential in that room. Like, people notice that, and it does matter. But I do think that you ultimately have to win. Like, Cam can say whatever, DeMario can say whatever, AK can say whatever, Tyron can say whatever. At the end of the day, like, if you're losing every game, like, that stuff goes sour at a certain point.
Yep.
So, and I think they're very close to it. But yeah, I mean, I think that this kind of represents a different feeling from inside what the locker room pulse is versus what the outside pulse is. And I think it's kind of a clear indication that, it's not as bad as it seems. The lip readers that were trying to say that he was telling Sean Payton to come and get him, like, that was never true. Like, they've been working on this for about 2 weeks now. It opened up about 2 weeks ago. They've been talking. They kind of reached a point. I know that there was a little bit of a standoff over the final numbers, and then ultimately they met at a spot where it was comfortable for everyone. But it isn't like this just like popped up like out of nowhere. This is something that I thought it was going to get done before the Thursday night game, and it didn't. And then it got done, a couple days later. So it's been talking on the cusp, kind of close, not close, close, not close. They reopened talks after they shut him down for a minute. But yeah, this wasn't like a sudden thing. He wasn't looking to get out. Like it's not like, oh no, he's going to go join Sean Payton. We better sign him. Like, no, that isn't like how any of this played out at all. So, yeah, no, it definitely indicates there's a slightly different pulse in the locker room than there is on the outside, which is kind of interesting to find out a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that it's definitely notable.